Yes, the final debate. This was the time to see both of them head-to-head. Meg Whitman, Jerry Brown facing off for the last time. And John Dadian, while a lot of people were watching the Rescue, the greatest reality show on earth, John Dadian, of course, is watching the debate. Good morning.
I never said I led an exciting life. I watched a debate last night.
Well, that is your job, and that's what you do for a living. So, all right, this was the final debate. Let's start with the fact that, number one, apparently Jerry Brown wanted a lot more debates, but it was narrowed down to 3, and they're done now.
That's correct. The Brown campaign originally, early after the primary, wanted 12. Whitman campaign never wanted more than 3, and they finally got their wish. And more importantly, they got 3 pretty compacted within a couple weeks of each other, and enough before the election day that they could respond to any gaffes that were made last night. And there were no gaffes to speak of.
Yeah, and in fact, you say there really wasn't much of anything.
It really was not. To you, since we are military town, I remember in the old Marine Corps days when 2 guys would get together for bugle sticks, that a lot of times the drill instructors would say, you did nothing but push each other around. That's what I saw last night.
And missed opportunities.
A lot of missed opportunities. Of course, there are 2 big scandals that have overshadowed this campaign, one in each camp, and I don't think either one hit it out of the ballpark, which they could have. Jerry Brown gave a half apology, not a real full one. Meg Whitman should have looked in the camera and said, you don't need to apologize to me, apologize to every woman in the state. That would appeal to both parties. And as far as the Whitman, Brown could have emphasized his experience and said, have you ever, negotiated a budget? Have you ever done this? Wait a minute, you haven't even voted. That's showing that the voters are very concerned about that, which surprises me.
And none of those topics were touched on.
They weren't emphasized. They were touched on and then moved on.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously Meg Whitman has a big one here with that phone call. And for those folks who don't remember, it was used a derogatory term, basically calling her a sellout, for selling out to the union, saying, hey, you're gonna do union renegotiation with these guys, but not the police and the fire. She's selling out, and they called her a...
And when I use the term missed opportunity, it's on both sides on that one issue. Jerry Brown should have looked in the camera and said, it's wrong, it's always wrong, and it's inexcusable. Next question. Nothing Whitman could have said to respond to that. He didn't do that.
Yeah. The one thing you do find, though, in these is you really draw the contrast between the 2. I mean, you do have a career politician who really has done nothing but politics his entire life, starting with his own father, and then a career businesswoman who has been nothing but a corporate person her whole life.
Again, I'm going to keep using the phrase missed opportunities. There's a phrase that it's kind of a canned political statement that you use when you have a career politician. Meg Whitman hasn't used it once during the campaign. She should have looked at the camera and said, have you ever signed the front of a check, Mr. Brown? He hasn't.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about the money situation here, because obviously there's a lot of money being spent in this campaign by Meg Whitman. Up to maybe $130 million of her own money, breaking an all-time record set by Bloomberg. Right, Michael Bloomberg.
That was the record she broke. That's correct.
In New York.
And he had to do that just to get a 3rd term.
Well, that's right, yes. And they changed the rules in order to get the 3rd term. But nonetheless, but still, it is a statistical dead heat. I think when you look at the amount of money that Meg Whitman has spent and the little amount of money Jerry Brown has spent, it really is phenomenal to see that he actually is leading by a small margin.
Again, Jerry Brown is an institution in the state, and we keep forgetting people are even our age, Dan, and no offense, but we're not that young, that his family's an institution. Sure. That's resonating in the polls, without a doubt, and you can't beat that. A good friend of mine ran against Jerry Brown 4 years ago for Attorney General. He had all the credentials, would have been a great Attorney General, could not overcome that name ID of his opponent, Jerry Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any Republican backlash? I mean, Governor Schwarzenegger, Republican by label, right? I mean, fairly moderate guy. But do you think there's any backlash to say, well, there's a Republican in the big house right now, maybe we need to get a Democrat in there?
Certainly not in the Republican Party. The Republican Party really has embraced Meg Whitman without a doubt. Again, here's what's going on in the final days of the campaign. Republicans are here, Democrats are here. As usual, it's the independents, undecideds, and so that's not, the backlash has not been seen among the independent and undecided voters yet. So does Whitman have a chance? Absolutely. It's real tough to overcome that Jerry Brown legacy.
Yeah, it sure is. All right, John Dadian, we do appreciate your observations always. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Okay, good to see you too. We'll see you later.